Welcome to Community Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Clark, and today with me I have one of my colleagues from Cox Business, Michael Andrade, our Sales Engineering Manager. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today, Michael.
I'm glad to be here, Sarah. Thank you.
So I'm really excited to have you on the show to help teach our viewers a little bit more about internet safety and how to keep our families, us personally, and our children safe when they're on the internet. We're using the internet more than ever these days, and I know things are changing so quickly, it's hard to keep up, and since you're an expert in this field, we're really excited to have you here today to talk about what we can do to keep our families safe.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Internet safety is something that I think a lot of people have lost focus of because it's just, there's so much to know and so much to understand, and because people don't understand the depth and the breadth of what the technology can do, they become complacent. And unfortunately, that can put us at a great deal of risk. Not understanding the technology doesn't make it any safer. So normally, I like to talk about 6 particular points that I think are important for the average person to understand. Some they're all really not that difficult concepts, but they're important things for families, especially families with children, to understand. Basically, it boils down to 6 points. So the first point would be defending your computer. Second point would be protecting your sensitive and personal information out on the internet. Thirdly would be creating strong passwords, but most importantly, keeping them secret. Next is taking charge of your online safety and reputation. Then fifth would be using social networks safely. And last, but certainly not least, is talking to your kids about staying safer online. And I think with those 6 core concepts, having an understanding of how those can be utilized, you can protect yourself against the majority of threats that are out there on the internet.
Wonderful. Well, let's start with defend your computer. How do I go about defending my computer and protecting myself?
Well, that is a great question. One of the things about hackers is they have all the time in the world to find ways to exploit computers. New operating systems come out, people just don't want to upgrade their computer, don't have the know-how, so they tend to become complacent. So having applications, which are programs that you can install that are antiviral, they basically help protect your system. So there's programs out there like McAfee, there's Norton Antivirus, or for free there's AVG. Cox customers are afforded a McAfee subscription if they're an internet subscriber. Because it's important to Cox that our customers are protected and basically their computer networks aren't vulnerable to these kinds of threats out there. Next, of course, is something simple like a firewall. It doesn't have to be anything expensive or sophisticated. A $50 or $100 firewall from Best Buy or Staples is more than adequate. And what that does is it's almost like a one-way check valve. So it allows you and your family to get out to the internet, but it doesn't allow people to get into your internet. So it's like a front door, a lock on your front door. You have the keys, you can go out, you can come back in, but if somebody goes up and shakes the handle, they can't come into your network. Very simple way to protect
and
the
that's
network.
Not something that comes with your computer typically? That's an additional
Great
thing
point.
that you go out and purchase?
Exactly, and nor does it come with most internet service providers like Cox service. So usually you would have some kind of a modem, either a DSL modem or a cable modem, and then this would be the device that fits between your modem, which is your access to the outside world, and your computer. And then next would be the internet security updates. Microsoft seems to be notorious for every Wednesday, Thursday, pushing out network updates that necessitate your rebooting your computer. These are really important things. A lot of people, myself included, sometimes I'm busy, I don't want to be bothered with it, I'll hit ignore, and I won't do that. Well, the reason that these security updates are pushed out from Microsoft is because they've identified that somebody has found an exploit in their system. So it's their way of patching the hole. So it's very important to keep these updates active and current on your computer. And then next would be Wi-Fi passwords, another real big one. A lot of people tend to think that because they've gone to Best Buy, they've bought a Wi-Fi router, they plug it into their modem, and wow, everybody in my house can just connect wirelessly. Isn't that great? Well, not only can everybody in your house connect wirelessly, but everybody within roughly a 150-foot radius of your access point can connect to your house and to all the computers in your house. So if you don't have a password, even a simple password on your Wi-Fi router, basically everything that you're doing online is being broadcast out around your property. Now people think, yeah, but who's going to sit out in front of my house and look at my internet traffic? I got news for you. There are competitions. Back in the day, there used to be a competition or an activity they called war driving. And that's where hackers would get together and they would have a laptop with some sophisticated antennas. And they'd drive through neighborhoods to find open access points and see what they could do with that. Hackers have the ability to create specialized computers that can range even further than those 150 feet. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities there, but just having some way to lock down your access point, very important. Next is unknown or untrusted software. There's so many great emails that come out that say, this program will solve all your problems. Click here, load it up. If you don't know what it is, you didn't solicit the program, don't load it. It can have software hidden inside, a Trojan horse, that's actually collecting personal information about you and your online experience and sending that off to hackers somewhere else in the world who can then steal your identity. And then, of course, anything that you don't specifically know what it is, don't click on it. A lot of applications and hackers were pushing out fake pop-up messages. So you'd go to a web page and it would pop up and say, your antivirus isn't working. Click here to protect your computer. Well, unfortunately, that was usually a ruse in order to get you to click. Now they've just gotten a backdoor into your computer and they own your computer. So these are just some simple things that you can do to defend the actual system itself, because regardless of whether you do online banking, I know people who say, but I don't do anything special on my computer. Anything that you've scanned, anything that you've written, websites that you've gone to, just because you've closed the web page doesn't mean the information isn't still in your computer. And if a hacker can gain access to your computer, he can get that information, and if they can, he or she, and if they get that information, they can steal your identity, which is a major, major problem.
So, and how, it's so great having an expert like you around.
Oh,
We're
you.
So lucky to have you here, because this is fascinating and so important. And so many of us just don't think about this when we're online, as I'm very guilty of myself. So how would I know, let's say I click on one of those, I download some software, I click on something that's bad, would I know, other than having my identity stolen, I would find out about that, but would I know if somebody's been in my computer?
Well, unfortunately, that's the problem, is most of the time it's the hidden crime. You don't know until it's too late. And that's where things like the McAfee or the Norton or the AVG antivirus programs can go a long way to helping protect you, because they're hiding in the background, looking at everything that's happening on your computer and looking for known patterns or threats. And when they identify them, they'll either block them or notify you of them. So that's why it's important to have that additional layer, basically to give you the cue, exactly to your point, that something bad has been happening, and at least allow you the opportunity then to take some kind of action before it goes too far.
Great, thank you. Well, let's move on and talk about protecting sensitive personal information, which we all have a lot of. How do we go about protecting that when we have so many different passwords and things we're doing on the computer?
Absolutely. Great question. I know so many folks are participating in online banking. I'm one of those folks. I won't get a credit card now if I can't do all my payments and what have you online. It's just convenient. But with that convenient comes a price and a responsibility. So it's critically important whenever you're on any kind of a web page that you're passing sensitive information, social security numbers, driver's licenses, addresses, phone numbers, any of that information that you wouldn't want to post on a billboard right on the 101 freeway. You want to make sure that you have a secured, encrypted connection. Now, I know when people talk about encryption, you think, oh, geez, I'm not a network engineer. How do I understand what encryption is all about? It's really simple. Most browsers, actually all browsers nowadays, have something called Secure Socket Layer, or SSL. The way that you as the average user can see that happening is in the address bar, rather than seeing HTTP for the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, you see HTTPS. That S is for the Secure Socket Layer. A lot of browsers nowadays, also Microsoft Explorer does this, have a visual cue. They put a lock either with an open hasp or a closed hasp to indicate the status of that secured connection. So if, for example, I'm online, I'm doing my banking, I'm depositing my paycheck or transferring funds from one account to another, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm connected with a secure socket layer or HTTPS connection. Next thing is, when you're creating your passwords, don't use dictionary passwords. There are programs freely available that hackers use all the time that will go through the entire dictionary, and it does that in about 2 minutes.
Wow.
So imagine if you used any word in the dictionary, you use zebra, it's only going to take 2 minutes for that hacker to find your password. So by not using dictionary words, you've taken your security level up. The next thing, use nonsensical, complex, or obfuscated words. So, it sounds really technical, but do silly things like change the letter E to the number 3, use a number 1 in place of the letter L. That makes it easy to remember, because I know there's so many passwords that you have to remember. I've got my Visa card, my MasterCard, my online banking, my gym membership. Everything has its own password associated with it. So how do I keep track of them? By doing something that I mentally can keep track of but isn't going to show up in a dictionary is going to go a long ways to securing that password and making it much more difficult to hack. So now I've taken that 2 minutes and I've increased it. Also, the longer that your password is, the better. If you can combine 2 words together that have nothing to do, so maybe I will go with zebra, maybe I'm going to use zebra and Chevrolet. I put those 2 words together with a number in between. That, again, increases the level of complexity and makes it that much more difficult for somebody to brute force hack your password. Never, ever, ever have a password that's less than 8 characters. Some websites don't allow you to have more than 7 characters, more than 7 characters. So if you have limitations like that, absolutely you have to work within them. But like I say, the longer the password, the more secure it's going to be.
Well, we could talk about this all day long. I'm sure. You're so knowledgeable. But to leave our viewers with one last thought on how to protect their kids and themselves against internet safety, what would you like to leave everybody with?
Well, I think my biggest point would be communication. In the household, it's vitally important that parents talk to their kids, that parents understand the technology that their kids are using, to have the conversations. What are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you doing it? And if it just doesn't sound right, take action. Do something about it. There's some great resources where folks can get more information. There is a website for cyberbullying, for example. If your kids are being harassed, you as a parent can go to www.stopbullying.gov. It's a government agency that has some great resources and information. There's CERT, which is the United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team, is another organization that provides a lot of security information, and that's www.us-cert.gov. And then as far as antivirus programs and security, www.cox.com, search for security, and you can find all of the useful links and free utilities that Cox offers to our customers.
Wonderful. Well, again, we're so lucky to have you here as our own internal expert, and thanks again for sharing all your wealth of knowledge with our viewers today.
Thank you so much for your time, Sarah. I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching Community Connection. We'll see you next time.